question in advance, please click the raise hand button in the chat section on the right side of the screen. Raise hands, click the raise hands button, and then write your question on the chat, and if you want to ask the question yourself, please indicate. But if not, our admin Pam Carbonell will read it for you. Pam, are you there? In the meantime, we will mute everyone. Okay, we have Mr. Ronnie Prancha, my friend, on board already. Oh. Pam, di na makapasok si Usec.
Everybody here?
Okay. Pam. Si Usec. Okay, in your chat column, I already uploaded two materials from the press briefing that spokesperson Harry Roque gave at noon in Malacanang earlier.
On my screen, it looks like everybody's muted.
Everybody's muted.
Yeah. So that there will be no feedback when someone is speaking. So when the program starts, all of you will be muted.
Yeah.
But you can actually unmute yourself if you want to say something.
There is a lot of people here.
With no press freedom, Bobby.
Everybody will be given an opportunity to say something.
Rick, you can hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Good. How's Bahrain?
Doing good. Surviving.
My daughter went there just before the lockdown and got stuck there.
Oh, too bad. She's still here.
Bahrain, stuck there. Anyway, maybe I don't know when we will open up, but she's in Bahrain, so She's okay, but she's locked down there. Are we allowed any off-chat discussions until the meeting starts?
Okay, we want to welcome Usec Costello of the Department of Trade and Industry. Welcome, Usec.
Oh, yes, thank you. And good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon po.
I'm just here. I'm waiting for the meeting to start.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Good
And
morning.
good afternoon to all. Yes, to all our friends in the Middle East. I was there when the president first went to visit your countries. That was around March of 2017. So I have been to Bahrain, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Dubai. I have visited these places and yes, thank you. I'll just be here waiting for the meeting.
Usec Ruth is still as pretty as ever. Magandang hapon po. Pleasure.
Magandang hapon po. And thank you. Oh, it's you. Secretary, how are you?
Mabuti naman po.
Sir, where are you now? Are you in Manila?
Yes, I am. Of course. Helping out sa DILG. This is one of...
Oh, I see.
Papasok na si ano
Nice to see you, sir.
It's always a pleasure to see you, ma'am.
And one of these days, well, after the ECQ, after the crisis, we should have coffee, sir.
Huwag naman coffee. Let's go to a bar. Sama din natin si Sec Mon. My goodness. Celebrate tayo.
Oh, yeah. Sige, sir. We'll invite. We'll send you the invite.
Looking forward. I will retreat.
Yes, sir. Collect from me when the crisis is over.
Okay, Secretary Bello will be coming in shortly, and Usec Malaya too.
Sir, how many participants do we have in this group?
Right now we have 31 already, and about 6 top cabinet and sub-cabinet officials. That's a
Okay.
former Secretary Bello.
What countries and cities are represented, Usec Body?
We have Rudy Estimo will be briefing us later on who is participating from the Middle East. But we have reps from Saudi, from Riyadh. Wait, I'll just.
Al-Khabar,
Bahrain, Iraq, Quincy, Australia. Also, excuse me lang. Okay. Just a few minutes more. A minute or two. Go ahead.
Hi, Sir Robert. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
This is Noni Sadal from Riyadh.
Yeah, good morning, Noni. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Just reported to work. I'm here. I'm back again. So
Oh,
actually, I have a duty now. I'm working with one of the banks here in Saudi Arabia, but I am connected with RCBC Telemark, the Philippines. But our partner, which I assigned, is the National Commercial Bank of Arabia here in Riyadh. We are dealing with business, sir. So every day I'm working, even Fridays during holidays, because we are frontliners for our kababayans just to
yes.
accommodate their remittances to Philippines.
Oh, importante pa rin yung talaga yung ating OFW community. So, we are doing all this also to assure you the government is taking care of you, your relatives here in the Philippines, and looking after you also while you are there.
Yes, sir. So, our office, we are working from 9:30 to 3:30 in the afternoon. So we will be here even Fridays just to respond to our remitters, especially from Philippines.
Yes. Thank you. Which bank do you work for, Noni?
Sir, I am RCBC Teleman in the Philippines, but our partner here, we are tied up the National Bank of Saudi Arabia, the NCB, and which I am assigned presently. And we have another partner, the Arab National Bank
Thank you.
and
Thank you, Noni. Now we have
Yes, sir.
Usec Malaya.
You're welcome, sir.
We're just waiting for Secretary Bello to come in.
From Kuwar.
Right. Probably now that we have Usec Malaya in, we can start while Secretary Bello is still fixing his connection. Usec, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Bobby. Maraming magandang, ano ba dyan sa inyo?
Hapon.
Magandang hapon. Hindi, sa kanila, sa Middle East. Ano ba sa Middle East ngayon?
Hapon, sir. Hapon.
Magandang hapon. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Maraming salamat po for joining us. Thank you for joining us here in this presser for our members of the Filipino community in the Middle East, as well as the members of the press. I have seen some friends of mine also here from the local channels who have joined us for this presser. Maraming salamat po for joining us. We are honored also to be joined later by Secretary Bello of the Department of Labor and Employment. I was also told that we will be joined by Admin Hans Cacdac of the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, or OWWA. And I already saw Usec Ruth Castello of the DTI, who's also here with us, and other colleagues from the government. Maraming salamat po for joining the DILG in this Middle East presser. So I won't waste too much of our time kasi alam ko it would be best if we have more of an interactive session. So I'm going to give a brief presentation about the government's efforts to defeat COVID. And may I ask Bobby to please share the slides. This will give our friends from the media, as well as the Filipino community in the Middle East, a sort of a bird's eye view of the government's efforts insofar as defeating COVID is concerned. As you very well know, utilizing the president's strong political will, we have one of the strongest responses to COVID in the world. In fact, other countries are looking to the Philippines as an example on how to decisively contain, or at the very least mitigate, the effects of COVID because of the immediate decisions that are being undertaken by the government, which is supported by science and data-driven. So my first slide is essentially to give our friends present here today with the updated National Action Plan. As you very well know, the government agencies have bonded together under the rubric of the National Task Force COVID, under the leadership of Secretary Lorenzana, with DILG Secretary Eduardo Año as the Vice Chairman. And we have Secretary Galvez as the Chief Implementer, with Secretary Vince Dizon as the Deputy Chief for all efforts related to expanded and mass testing. Above them is the IATF, which is led by Secretary Duque, and who has members almost all government agencies in the country. And of course, above them is the President, President Rodrigo Duterte. So just to give an idea, the updated National Action Plan shows that our end-to-end management system can be summarized into T3s, which is test, trace, and treat. So essentially, we're expanding our testing capacity. We're contact tracing, just like other countries in the world, and we are treating all COVID positives so that they can recover and go back to society. So as at every point in the plan, from prevention, which essentially is prevention begins at home. That's why we have this segment of the population which we call as homeliners. We ask you to stay home, and we want you to be our first line of defense. How do you do that? By washing your hands, by practicing social distancing, by staying at home and going out only to do essential things. And when you're out, you should always wear a face mask and do not go out when it's not necessary, to follow the curfew. All of those issues are being implemented as a preventive measure. Then we go to detection. We have several types of tests: RT-PCR test and the rapid antibody tests. And later on, I think we will be joined by Undersecretary Usec Vergeire of the DOH, who will then explain to us all of these things about testing and tracing. Then we have the isolation, and I will give an update later on where we are insofar as isolation is concerned. So as soon as we detect a positive patient, we isolate him to ensure that he does not infect the community, and we treat them accordingly based on their symptoms. So if they have no symptoms and they're asymptomatic, we can put them in a quarantine facility, or they can do home self-isolation. If they have, or they can go to an LGU or national government-run quarantine facility. If they have symptoms, then they are brought to public and private hospitals. And as soon as they are well, we reintegrate them to the community. But so long as we do not have the vaccine against COVID, we will have to adapt to the new normal. So this is the National Action Plan, which we have been implementing since the beginning. This is applicable nationwide, and also applicable on a local government unit basis, applicable up to the barangay, and even to small communities like prisons and jails. Next slide. Can you go to the next slide, please, Pam? Yeah, so this is our update insofar as contact trace, in testing is concerned. Our target is that by the end of the month, we would have reached our target of 30,000 testing. But right now, we already met our goal of 8,000 testing capacity. So every day, we are now able to test 8,000 individuals. And we have 235,311 test kits. We have conducted 140,134 tests, PCR tests, and we have tested 126,713 individuals. So we have slowly been expanding our testing capacity. From April 7 up to now, we have been adding additional labs, and I will show those figures as we go along. Next slide. So insofar as laboratory testing is concerned, I'm talking about PCR tests because PCR test is the gold standard, no, as compared to a rapid antibody test. So our strategy is, of course, expand our testing across the country. As of this date, we have 23 licensed testing laboratories, and another 62 are coming in, and they are now on stage 3, meaning their accreditation level is now on stage 3. Stage 5 means that they can now operate. So malapit na pong mag-operate yung additional 62 na yan. We started with only 3 laboratories in February 2020. The most prominent of which is our ITM in Muntinlupa. Today we have 23 laboratories, and we expect to expand this to 85 laboratories who can do PCR tests by March 30, 2020. As you can see in the slide, we first began with 3 laboratories, mostly in Metro Manila, in Baguio, and in Cebu. And now we have existing laboratories all over the country, those in color blue. It's scattered all over the Philippines. There are some in Bicol, additional in Cebu, and in Panay Island. There's one in Davao. Excuse me. And by the end of this month, we would have all those testing laboratories all over the country, no? In Eastern Visayas, Northern Mindanao, even in Ilocos and in Cagayan Valley region. Next slide. So just to give everybody an idea of the laboratory testing, these are the various laboratories that are applying for PCR accreditation by with the DOH. The ones in green, the ones in yellow, yeah, those are the ones that are going to be accredited very soon. Okay, once all of those medical centers are already on the line, then we will have expanded our testing capacity to 30,000 a day. Next slide. Okay, so these are our testing facilities in Metro Manila. Next slide. Yeah, but these are okay. Okay, so one of the things that the government is really taking care of is our guidelines on the management of returning overseas Filipinos. And later on, I will give the floor to the OWWA to explain this further. No, on the part of the DILG, our role is to ensure that the overseas Filipinos who return to the Philippines are accepted in the LGUs where they want to go home. I know that many of you have heard that there has been some instances wherein there were delays in the entry of buses containing overseas Filipinos due to the local government units prior objections. However, we have already settled this problem. We now have a system wherein there is advance notice to the local government unit, and we explain to them the precautions that we have taken, and that all of these returning overseas Filipinos have been certified to be free from COVID, and therefore there is no cause for alarm. So we have that system already in place. And in addition, the DILG has set up OFW assistance desks in all of our regions across the country to ensure that there are DILG officials who will address concerns of returning OFWs. Of course, this is in cooperation with DOLE and the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration and the Department of Foreign Affairs. So I will just skip this slide. Next slide, please. Okay, again, this is about our program to ensure that all overseas Filipinos can return home to their respective provinces. As I said, we organize sweeper flights, we organize buses to bring home to their respective provinces our kababayans who have gone home. But just to ensure that their testing is immediately done, we have set up several mega swabbing facilities in Palacio de Maynila along Roas Boulevard, in Enduron colleges in Taguig, in the Mall of Asia Arena in Pasay, and in the Philippine Arena in Bulacan. Next slide. So let me show you some of the mega swabbing centers that the National Task Force COVID has opened. The first one was in Palacio de Maynila in Roas Boulevard, and there are 65 booths operated by the Philippine Coast Guard. And this is part of the government's focused and targeted massive testing, not only for overseas Filipinos, but also for frontliners and other persons that need to be tested in accordance with the protocol set by the Department of Health. Next slide. This one is the second mega swabbing center in Enduron colleges in Taguig. There are 56 testing booths operated by doctors and nurses coming from the armed forces. And the opening of this center was witnessed by our Secretary Eduardo Año. Next slide. So again, I will just skip this because this is part of the report of OWWA. I would rather that the DOLE and OWWA make this report. So let me now go to the next slide. And the next slide, please. Okay, so we and the DILG has always been focused on ensuring that the local government units advance the National Action Plan. The National Action Plan was the slide which I showed you at the beginning of my presentation. And it is our goal that local government units are empowered, that local government units have the capacity to implement the National Action Plan in their localities, because the strategy that government has implemented is that our COVID action plan is nationally enabled but local government led and people centered. Okay, so in this case, there was a online meeting between our Chief Implementer Secretary Galvez with the Union of Local Authorities of the Philippines. Next slide. So let me now go to the last few slides of my presentation. First is the proposed action plan. So if some of you were monitoring the news reports from Manila, spokesman Harry Roque already explained to the media and to the public here the downgrading of many areas of quarantine. So for example, there is no more any quarantine in the Ilocos region. They will now be more of new normal, meaning since there will be no more limit to movement of people, but mass gatherings are still discouraged. People are still required to use face masks, no? But the minimum health standards as imposed by the Department of Health will now be in place. There will be no quarantine anymore in those areas, which are considered low risk. However, the green areas, which was explained by spokesman Harry a while ago, will continue to be under general community quarantine, while the high-risk areas, which is the red areas, will now be under modified enhanced community quarantine. What does that mean? If you are under, or what areas are those under enhanced community quarantine? That is NCR, Laguna, and Cebu. All other places have been downgraded to GCQ, or quarantine has been totally removed from them. All right, so what was the basis for the downgrading of some areas to GCQ? We follow the World Health Organization metrics. Transmission is controlled. Health systems are in place to prevent, detect, test, isolate, and treat every case and trace every contact. The risk of an outbreak are minimized in health facilities and nursing homes. Preventive measures are in place in workplaces and schools. Importation risk can be managed, and communities are fully engaged, educated, and empowered to embrace the new normal. Later on, maybe Usec Vergeire of the DOH can explain to us the minimum health standards which apply from a modified ECQ to an ECQ area to a GCQ to a no quarantine new normal location. So in a decision made by the IATF, it was science is in charge, data-driven, to ensure that the metrics are properly studied as a protection against a possible second wave scenario in the Philippines. So number two, again, as I showed you a while ago, we're now going to 30,000 tests a day. So we are doing targeted and focused testing nationwide, especially when those laboratories across the country have gone online. Number three, establishment of isolation and quarantine facilities. We have two types of isolation and quarantine facilities. Those run by the national government, which are the mega quarantine facilities in World Trade Center, PICC, Rizal Memorial Stadium, and in other areas, while there are ones run by the local government units. So COVID, those requiring quarantine may either go to either of these two places. And the DILG has been working very closely with the local government units so that necessary isolation facilities are established. Number four, create COVID hospitals or isolation areas in existing hospitals. And the Department of Health can give more details about this action plan. Number four, once Usec Vergeire joins us in this presser. Next slide. All right, this is the last slide. So number five, as I said, is our program to manage the return of OFWs and non-OFWs back in the country. And we already have a system in place to ensure that the return of our overseas Filipinos are smooth and will be facilitated by government. Number six, moving forward, the government and the communities have to prepare for the rainy season in June. And as we all know, when rainy season kicks in, there is the higher possibility of dengue, flu, pneumonia with COVID cases, which could be a source of a second wave. So government is preparing for this possible eventuality during the rainy season. Number seven, we enlist the best and the brightest health leaders, academicians, advocates in the entire medical community in addressing this concern. And as I said a while ago, Usec Vergeire will probably explain later on why government was able to flatten the curve. Okay, last Friday, the DOH made this announcement that the Philippines has been able to flatten the curve, meaning we were able to keep the cases low and our healthcare systems are in place and have not been overwhelmed by the number of our COVID cases. And in explaining this flattening of the curve, we work very closely with the University of the Philippines PGH Institute of Infectious Medicine, Infectious Diseases. And we also have with us experts from the Ateneo and other institutions, public health institutions, in helping us make the right decisions. Number 8, we have always partnered with the business sector and the private sector. Number 9, we have been slowly preparing the country through a communications plan to transition to the new normal. Number 10, we work very closely to generate real-time and more granular data. We have been using technology to defeat COVID. We have a technical working group on data analytics, so it's slowly sieving through the data every day to ensure that our policymakers have the best information at their disposal. And we have been using apps like Stay Safe and Faster apps as a means to monitor and use technology to give us a advantage over the COVID disease. Number 11, as part of the task group on strategic communications on NTF COVID, the DILG has been part of the team under spokesman Harry Roque that has been developing our communications plan to be able to empower and ensure the cooperation of the public in implementing the new normal. And finally, the National Task Force is constantly developing a monitoring and an evaluation system with clear metrics of success to ensure that we are winning every battle so that we will eventually win the war. And it is our opinion that given the success of our government in flattening the curve, in ensuring that our cases do not spike suddenly, that our healthcare systems would not be able to cope, in our implementation of the quarantine, in our implementation of the curfew, and in everything we do, though there has been many problems, as is happening in many parts of the world, we have been able to win every battle that we have fought, and eventually we will win this war. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay po kayo lahat.
Thank you, Usec Malaya. We welcome Usec Cacdac, Administrator of the OWWA, but we will call first on Secretary Bello. We welcome Secretary Bello, who is now in to give his opening statement.
Akala, hindi ako marunong pumasok eh.
Okay.
Sir.
Good morning, good afternoon po, Secretary.
Good afternoon, sir.
Po.
Uy, si Ruth.
Afternoon,
Good afternoon, sir.
Ma'am Ruth, good afternoon.
Sir, good afternoon
Yes,
po.
sir. Kamusta po?
Sa lahat, good afternoon.
Po.
Kamusta kayo, sir?
Mabuti naman po. Mabuti.
Secretary, will you give an opening statement?
Hello?
Opo, Secretary,
Pa,
will you give an opening statement? Opo.
Well, good afternoon sa everybody. I think I'm supposed to give you an update of yung program namin which is called Camp AKAP. This is a cash assistance, one-time cash assistance for our OFW. Fortunately, our President gave us 1.5 billion for our overseas Filipino workers who were displaced because of COVID-19. Meron din yung mga OFW na although they were not displaced by the COVID-19, they are still unable to report because of quarantine. So, nalabas na sila, na-expose sila doon sa no work, no pay. So wala rin silang kinikita. That is why they are covered under doon sa programa ng Camp AKAP ng ILAB or the International Labor Affairs Bureau of the Department of Labor. Kasama na rin po sila covered din lahat yung mga kababayan natin na inabutan ng quarantine, yung mga balik manggagawa na pabalik na sana sa kanilang destinasyon abroad, pero because of the quarantine, hindi sila nakalipad, so they are also covered under this program. So far po, our targeted na beneficiaries ay 150,000. That was our estimate of OFWs who would be displaced because of COVID-19. Unfortunately, mukhang masyadong mababa yung aming estimate because as of yesterday, while we were expecting 150,000 OFWs, ang nag-apply for this benefit or cash assistance program ay 375,000 na. More than 100% of our estimate. Kaya bagamat kinakapos na kami, my instruction to our labor attaché, including kay Admin Hans, who is in charge of the local program, ay we continue to accept application with a caveat na kung sakaling maubos na yung 1.5 billion at hindi naman na-release yung additional request namin of 2.5 billion, then hanggang doon na lang po ang may bibigay namin tulong sa ating mga OFW. But fortunately, meron na tayong nabigyan na 100 ang in-approve natin doon sa nag-apply na 395 ay 134,000. So, kulang na lang ng 16,000 para makompleto yung 150,000. And so far, we have disbursed 1,047,000,000. So, konti na lang, mga a little over 400 million na lang. Maubos na po yung pondo, we will have to stop accepting application. But in the meantime, hoping that we still have to extend assistance to our overseas Filipino workers, we requested for additional funding of 2.5 billion. Ang sinasabi nga naman namin, alam nyo kako, every year, our overseas Filipino workers are remitting more than $30 billion every year, contributing a lot to our economy. Sabi ko, ngayon lang naman sila manghihingi ng tulong. This is the first time that we are going to repay them for their annual contribution or remittance of $30 billion. That's roughly 1.5 trillion ang kanilang contribution to ating national economy. So, hopefully, matouch naman yung ating mga leaders and pagbibigyan yung additional funding of 2.5 billion, and hopefully this will already answer for the other and more OFWs who will be displaced as a result of COVID-19. Ayun lamang po, and kung meron po kayong mga tanong pa, mga issues that you would like to raise, we are here to listen to you and address your concerns po. Yun lamang. Good afternoon, Usec Malaya.
Maraming salamat po, boss.
Good afternoon, sir. Salamat po for joining us, sir.
Okay. Ayan.
Okay. Now, can you call on Usec Hans to give additional details on the local part?
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon. To my boss, Sec Bello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Admin Hans. Mabuti.
And
COVID-free ka pa rin, ha?
Thank you, sir. Usec Jon Malaya, good afternoon din po. And to our friends from media, magandang hapon din po sa inyo. I just show 3 quick slides. First one is Okay. First one, as you know, based also on the directive of the IITF, based on the directive of Sec Bello, we commenced our assistance program for OFWs since day one of the ECQ. So the context of this presentation is ECQ. And since March 15, we have assisted 26,737 OFWs, most of them stranded OFWs here in Metro Manila. We have at least 4 programs running as we speak. So first is yung Hatid Sundo program. And the bulk of our Hatid Sundo program was during the first 2-3 weeks of the ECQ. At the beginning, Sec Bello and the IATF directed us to transport OFWs who were arriving at the airport because they needed such transport on account of the suspension of flight operations, at least most of the flight operations, especially domestic travel in the Philippines. So we provided Hatid Sundo assistance for 9,000 to 9,700 OFWs. The bulk of our work right now is centered on the OFW Kalinga, which is our shelter program. So you can see that our efforts are focused on what we call fast food, accommodation, shelter, transport. So transport is Hatid Sundo, and OFW Kalinga is shelter, accommodation, and food as well. So we continue to provide shelter, hotel accommodation to 9,962 OFWs. If March 15 is the first important date in the ECQ timeline, the second important date would be April 13, because that's the date when the IATF decided to impose mandatory quarantine for all arriving OFWs. So we have been providing accommodation to such number, 9,900, and the hotels number around 115 or so, all around the greater Metro Manila area, and counting because the arrivals had started trickling in once again since NAIA opened or resumed operations as of yesterday. The Tulong Marino program is essentially for those who never left or who did not get to leave the Philippines on account of the ECQ, the lockdown. So if Hatid Sundo and OFW Kalinga are mainly geared toward repatriated or returned OFWs, Tulong Marino is for those who never got to leave and therefore stranded still in Metro Manila. Many of them live in their own accommodation, boarding houses, dormitories, bed spacing, etc. Or their own relatives. They live with their own relatives, but still they need help in terms of mainly food. So we've been providing food every day to 6,072 stranded, mostly seafarers. That's why we call it the Tulong Marino program. But I would like to say that some of them are land-based workers as well. Maybe around 10 to 15% of them are land-based workers who are stranded in Metro Manila who never got to leave. And then last part there is the assistance to stranded OFWs in regions, mainly in Cebu and in Clark. So the number is 1,003. And so the total is around 26,737. Okay. Next slide will be on our spending. So just to give you an idea on how much we have spent as the administrator of a private trust fund of OFWs, we deem it proper to account for our expenses. So far, we've spent around 300,741,570 on hotels and counting. Food as well, 59.7 million. Transport, 9.7 million. Total is around 382.2 million. But I'd like to say that we have had the benefit of assistance from the General Appropriations Act through Congress. So not all of the expenses were made on account of the OWWA Trust Fund. So mainly we exhausted the 180 million, which essentially is from the Emergency Repatriation Fund from Congress. It's a yearly allocation that we have. So we were allowed by the DBM to exhaust this fund, 180 million. So that leaves a balance of around 200 million or so that we have utilized from the OWWA Trust Fund. So that accounts for around 15,000 per capita, with 381 million and around 26,000 OFWs assisted. That's around 15,000 pesos per OFW. That's essentially the cost. Okay, third slide. Third slide is something which relates to the third important milestone within the ECQ. If March 15 is the first important date, which is the ECQ commencement, April 13 is the second important date, mandatory quarantine implementation. April 27 could very well be the next important date, because that's the date when the IATF said that everyone returning to their home LGUs should undergo a PCR, RT-PCR swab test and must be declared negative as a result thereof. So since that time, which is about 2 weeks ago, or less than 2 weeks ago, we've had this requirement. And if April 27 was the institution of the requirement, the mass testing got underway, I would say, around May 4 or May 5, about 2, 3, 4 days after that. The Philippine Coast Guard was tasked to do the mass testing under the auspices of the Philippine Red Cross. The Philippine Red Cross provides the test kits to the Philippine Coast Guard. So the Philippine Coast Guard does the testing. But the processing of the specimen obtained by the Philippine Coast Guard goes back to the Red Cross. And the Red Cross processes the specimen, the results, and issues results, and brings the results back to the PCG, and the PCG then disseminates to relevant agencies such as OWWA, Marina, and the DILG, as mentioned by Usec Jon. The other important thing is the costing. We have had the benefit of a PhilHealth board resolution whereby PhilHealth agrees to shoulder testing costs. And so what transpired was the PhilHealth funded the release of test kits to PCG. So for step 1, as mentioned also by Usec Jon, we have had the benefit of free testing by the PCG in the Palacio tent along Rojas Boulevard. And we expect more of this with the opening of Enderon, as mentioned by Usec, and the Philippine Arena, no, the MOA Arena, sorry, in I think 1 or 2 days. And then Enderon, I think, opens next week. So this slide basically explains the process. And this process is perhaps the most relevant process these days, because OFWs are impatient, especially our OFWs in our quarantine facilities, because most of them, the basic reason why they're impatient is because most of them, number one, had accomplished their 14-day quarantine as required by the IATF initially, but also they arrived under the regime prior to the swab test. When they arrived at the airport and they were led their hotels, we at OWWA briefed them. Still, we were should I say, oblivious to the incoming swab test requirements. So we told them after the 14-day period, you will be given a certificate of accomplishment of the 14-day quarantine. And then with proper coordination with the LGU, you may go home. But unfortunately, things change, as I've said, as of April 27. So the effect on them, maybe 12, 14 days in quarantine initially was negative. But we just had to carefully explain the process. So this is the relevance of this whole slide. If you could also help us explain to our dear OFWs, as we already have, this whole process. So first step is the PCR swab test, as mentioned also by Usec Jon, that this is going on. Right now, we have managed to swab around 4,500 who have finished the 14-day quarantine. So we're underway. We can accomplish our goal. By the end of this week, we shall have tested or had tested all the OFWs who had finished. And once the PRC receives the results, the PRC then will now the PRC will issue the results. And I forgot to mention that not just the PRs, the PCG, but the Bureau of Quarantine of the DOH also receives the results. And from there, the BOQ will issue the individual certificates. This is the most important document for an OFW to go home. The BOQ individual certificate, which says that one had hurdled the RT-PCR test and had achieved a negative result therefrom, is the most important document to carry. It's the single most important document. What's needed after that is essentially DILG coordination. So we have a smooth inter-agency coordination, as mentioned by Usec Malaya. So now we have for ourselves the benefit of DILG assistance desks and DILG regional offices helping us, of course, upon coordination with DILG Central. Here in Metro Manila, we've been told that MMDA GM Jojo Garcia has already contacted all the mayors, and the mayors are already on board in terms of their awareness about LGUs, about OFWs going home, and to expect OFWs carrying these BOQ individual certificates. So step 3 is transport. Once the certificates have been received, the certificate has been received. So transport is the next step. And by the way, for the first 2 steps, we're expecting around 25,000 OFWs to go through this whole process. So the third step, once the RT-PCR requirement is hurdled, is transport back to their home regions, provinces, towns, cities, LGUs. So we're expecting, of course, a bulk of them, about 50-60% coming from Luzon, NCR, and the rest Visayas, Mindanao. For Luzon, NCR, it's easy in the sense that the DOTR will line up buses. If the seafarer has the benefit of a manning agency that provides such buses, then upon proper coordination with the ILG, these buses can be mobilized and the manning agencies may transport the OFWs to their respective provinces, home LGUs within Luzon, NCR. For Visayas, Mindanao, the DOTR again had helped us line up the flights, Mercy Voyages, and Mercy Flights. And just to add here that when the OWWA Board of Trustees met 2 weeks ago, led by our chair, Secretary Bello, the OWWA Board directed us to coordinate with the DOTR to shoulder these Mercy Flights and voyages back to Visayas, Mindanao, to transport OFWs returning to Visayas and Mindanao. So the OWWA will shoulder these Mercy Flights and voyages carrying OFWs. Step 4, home sweet home. So we're expecting a warm welcome for our dear OFWs there. Some LGUs may have some extra requirements, medical protocols upon arrival of our OFWs. The same interagency team, the ILG, DOTR, Office of Civil Defense, DOLE OWWA, I hope I didn't miss anyone, DOH, DOT, will be there represented as well. And of course, the LGU, local chief executives will be represented as well once the OFWs arrive in their respective home LGUs. So that's it. I won't take up more time. Perhaps over the question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Usec Hans. We're supposed to have Usec Ruth give her opening statement. But if there are any questions for Secretary Bello, because I think he has another meeting in a while. Please raise your hands. Any questions from the media? JP? No one's raising hands.
Hello.
Oh, yes. Go ahead.
Yes. Good afternoon, Secretary. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Secretary Bello. Can you hear me?
Secretary Bello.
Or kay Admin Hans, if...
Yes, I hear you.
Admin, opo. Admin Hans, sir. Ano po yung, alam ko yung mostly ang OWWA assistance is doon sa mga pag nakauwi na, no? Pero may mga OFWs kasi na nag-i-email, nagsasabi na hanggang ngayon pinagkatrabaho pa rin sila sa kanilang bahay kahit some of them are probably most likely PUMs na. So, what can the DOLE or OWWA do for them kung sakasakali po na hindi na nila kaya magtrabaho, nasa Middle East pa sila, HSW. So, what can they do po?
Kasi marinig ka.
Bali, ang tanong mo, JP, is yung sa on-site, no? Those who are still there?
Yes, sir. Opo.
Yes, with COVID or crisis, we also have the mechanism, the Philippine Overseas Labor Offices, and the labor attaches, supported by the OWWA staff, welfare officers, will be there. So may contact info naman yan, kanya-kanyang website, kanya-kanyang Facebook page. Siguro ang added element lang nitong COVID crisis is the restriction in movement. For instance, in Kuwait, nagka-total lockdown declared I think 3 days ago. So restriction in movement in terms of getting out of offices to coordinate, to assist, will be a little more difficult these days than usual. So these things just have to be factored in. And then the other thing is Sec Bello has ordered us to embark on a massive food drive, food assistance for OFWs who need food assistance out there. So ongoing ngayon yung food assistance efforts natin. And lastly, ongoing din yung pagtulong sa mga afflicted by COVID na OFW. So we've been providing $200 assistance. And in some cases, pag namatay or the OFW dies as a result of COVID, we provide assistance in terms of not just the death and burial benefits, but also yung sa cremation. We provide cremation assistance as well.
Thank you. Thank you po.
Okay. One follow-up, JP?
Yes, sir. Kay Secretary
Bello.
Oo. Secretary Bello, paano po ba yung... Hi, Sec. How are you?
Boss, Secretary Bello.
Pwede rin kay Admin Hans kung di ako narinig. Okay. Sir, paano po yung pag kasi sinabi ni Secretary Bello na kailangan pa nating patapos na kayo doon sa pagbibigay ng DOLE Camp AKAP program sa mga OFWs, no? And halos patapos na kayo and you're still waiting for the additional funding of 2.5 billion. Pero umabot po yung ng 300,000 plus yung nag-apply. So anong klaseng notification yung gagawin ninyo? How will you explain to the OFWs na hindi na masasama doon sa program, hindi pa mabibigyan agad ng benefit ng under this program? Ano po ang plano nyo pong approach? And what would you like to tell them?
Secretary Bello. Secretary Bello.
Okay.
Usec lang.
What I've heard from the SEC in his pronouncements is yung additional funding that's being requested from Congress as a second wave of assistance during the ACQ and maybe even post ECQ. So to close the gap, so to speak, or to address yung those who had applied the numbers beyond the cutoff dito sa first wave. So we're hoping that we will be provided additional funding to address yung additional applications here sa Dole ACAP.
Okay, thank you, admin. Thank you, sir. Salamat po.
Okay, let's call on Mena Edmondson. Okay, unmute. Unmute. Nasa left bottom. Yep. Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Edmondson. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, good afternoon.
Please identify your group.
Hello, this is Mena Edmondson from Australia, but my problem is in the Philippines because one of the seamen that was about to go to Canada to take his ship was not able to get out because of COVID, and he was promised $200 US dollars, but it did not, up to now he hasn't received anything. Hello, I think it is for admin Cacdac for the seaman.
Opo, ma'am, maybe we'll just take the name and the contact number of the applicant, then we'll take care of it.
Okay.
Okay, paki-ano lang po sa chat.
The name is just hold on, please. It just texted to me.
Ma'am, could it be in writing so we're sure of the spelling? Baka sa ano ma'am, sa chat?
Chat. Okay.
Okay, will do.
Okay, we'll ask Florante Catanos of TFC, the Filipino channel in Saudi Arabia, for one question. Okay, unmute.
Hi. Para po ito kay Secretary Bello at saka kay Admin Cacdac. Tungkol po ito sa financial assistance at saka food assistance. Kasi po dito sa Eastern Region, mga 250,000 OFWs po dito. No, at saka yung ceiling lang po na para po doon sa financial assistance is 5,000. So far, ang nabigyan yata nila ngayon ay mga 2,000 pa lang out of more than 10,000 na nag-apply. Kasi sa amin sa grupo namin, sa kabilang correspondent din po, marami ang nagtatanong paano yung hindi makakatanggap. Kasi sa totoo lang po, marami talaga dito apektado, lalo na yung mga nawala ng trabaho at saka at the same time mga no work, no pay. So kahit paano ay kailangan po nila ng food assistance at saka tulong mula sa ating gobyerno. So sana po ay ma-approve po yung additional na budget na sinasabi ni Sec Bello kanina na additional of 2.5 billion para po ay maabuna naman po ang iba nating kababayan. So ang tanong ko po ay kailan po kaya ito ma-approve ang additional na 2.5 billion?
Okay, I think a lot of that will depend on Congress. We know si Sec had asked us to engage the congressional leaders in providing input in the current proposed legislation that they're drafting. So we're doing that now. We're sure that the congressional leaders are working on it. What we're not sure of is the timeline kasi they're a separate branch of government, so we can't be necessarily be knowledgeable about their timeline. So a lot will depend on the congressional process, the congressional enactment.
Okay.
Okay po, additional lang po, kasi ang mga reklamo ng ating OFW po dito ay, so biro nyo po, 5,000 lang yung naka-allot, and then out of 250,000 dito sa Eastern Region. Yun nga po, sabi ng iba, baka patay na sila bago sila makatanggap ng financial assistance sa gobyerno natin. So sana lang po ay mapadali ito, at saka kahit paano maambunan po, kahit kalahati ng kahit tig $100, not necessarily siguro na $200, at para marami ang makakatanggap. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Mr. Catanos. We'll call on Usec Castello of the DTI. Usec Castello?
Yes, good afternoon,
Yes.
sorry. Good afternoon again, everyone. I'm just going to present to you some projects, some programs of the government so that we can help the returning OFWs and their families who are currently here in the Philippines. We have a slide presentation, Usec Bobby. Usec Bobby. We have a slide presentation. These are the DTI programs for MSMEs. These are funding and resource assistance that we can provide. First, we have in the DTI, we have the Small Business Corporation. It is in charge of providing assistance to the micro, small, and medium enterprises. Currently, those who are affected, MSMEs that are affected by COVID or by the enhanced community quarantine, may avail of the assistance or loan assistance from the Small Business Corporation. Micro enterprises can borrow up to 200,000 pesos, and small enterprises can borrow up to 500,000 pesos. All applications will be accepted by the Small Business Corporation as soon as the ECQ is lifted, but you may check the DTI website and look for SB Corp and find the P3 ERF. It's the Emergency Enterprise Rehabilitation Fund program of the SB Corp. And then we also have the Negosyo Serbisyo sa Barangay. This is a livelihood seeding program that we provide, allotting funding para po sa mga mga maliliit natin na negosyante in the barangays. We provide livelihood packages. Ito po yung sometimes it comprises of the entire sewing machine and then all the devices that you will need, or kitchen set that we can provide so that you can start your cooking business, plus a small amount of assistance ranging between 5,000 to 8,000 pesos for those who want to start a business who have been affected by natural and human-induced calamities. We did this in Marawi, and now for the ECQ, for the COVID crisis, we're also going to do this. We also have a shared service facility project. This is the fabrication laboratories of the DTI. We currently produce, using the Fab Labs, personal protective equipment, ethyl alcohol, face shields, aerosol boxes that can be made manually or using the digital fabrication equipment of the DTI. This program provides jobs to those people who want to have jobs and earn money. At the same time, they are able to sell the materials also that they make using the shared service facility of the DTI. We have MSMEs training programs also provided by the Philippine Trade Training Center. Usec Bobby, wala talaga yung slide. I can share mine though. This academy, ito pong sa PTPC natin, Global MSME Academy, offers 50 free online courses specifically developed and tailored to meet the new startups growing enterprises, and those who are ready to export their businesses operating in the ASEAN region. We have around 350 relevant links to business information and access to a directory of service providers from whom SMEs can reach out for financial advice, corporate programs, and networking. We have also in the department the control CTRL plus Biz Reboot now. This is 100% online. We offer a series of free webinars that will run from May 14 to May 16. We had the first series run last week, targeting MSMEs who need to transform their businesses digitally. The enablers in the online industry business across the entire e-commerce ecosystem are present to provide expertise and experiences on how to take advantage of the digital space. The coming series on May 14 to 16 will now be inviting government offices. We will have the BIR to handle, of course, the taxation side of the online business. And then we will have the DICT also, and of course the Department of Trade and Industry. We're working on the e-commerce roadmap as well, so that we will have a registry of all online sellers in the Philippines. We have the market access, direct market access program. We call this the Producer to Consumer Market Program by the Department of Trade and Industry. It is a series of Descuento caravans and rolling stores that we bring closer to the consumer. We, of course, do this in cooperation with the MSMEs who supply us the products, or sometimes directly from the manufacturer, so that we can provide discounts. But MSMEs can likewise buy from these caravans, where they can get a discount of range between 10% to 40% compared with the retail prices in regular stores. We also provide the markets for our MSME manufacturers of basic necessities, so that they can sell their products, as well as assist consumers by providing them these products at discounted prices. We currently also, during the enhanced community quarantine, are collaborating with the Department of Agriculture. We transformed this into a Kadiwa Descuento caravan, bringing also agricultural food products. The small businesses, our MSMEs, can also buy from these caravans, so that they can get the items or the products at a cheaper price. MSMEs that are into farming may also sell their goods directly to consumers in these caravans. They can join us and bring their products so that they can sell them. It's them who sell, not the DTI nor the Department of Agriculture. We ask the sellers to bring their goods and then sell it themselves at the caravans organized by the department. We have issued also several memorandum circulars to assist the micro, small, and medium enterprises. First, we have the Memorandum Circular number 20-06, supplemented by MC 20-08, 11, and 18. These are the memorandum circulars that ensure unhampered movement of cargo and transit of personnel of enterprises allowed to operate during the ECQ. So if you have noticed, at the start, we had some difficulty transforming the mindset of the public and, of course, the local government units who had their own restrictions. But we have slowly eased up movement of cargo and people, especially in the National Capital Region and in areas where the enhanced community quarantine is imposed. We also have Memorandum Circular number 20-12. This is a set of guidelines on the concessions on residential and commercial rents. We understand that there are a lot of people who did not have jobs during the enhanced community quarantine, so that for residential rents, and both for residential and commercial rents affected by the enhanced community quarantine, The department provided a 30-day grace period before the landlord can collect from the tenant. 30 days upon the lifting of the enhanced community quarantine, and then payable up to 6 months. So the rent accruing for the past 2 months in the ECQ can be divided into 6 months, but this will be, of course, on top of the regular rent that you will have to pay probably for June and July and the next month. We recognize of course, the kindness and generosity of the landlords. We give them 3 options. They can either give a discount, a further discount on the rental payment that they will collect, or extend the period from 6 months minimum to maybe 12 months if they feel being more generous, or they can actually totally waive the rental fee, and we will recognize these businesses. The big retailers, big malls now have already waived the rental fees of the businesses renting the spaces inside the malls. We have MC 20-14. This is the enhanced operations for BPO companies and export enterprises and their service providers. So if you have family members who work in BPOs, I'm sure you have heard from them that they are allowed to continue to operate, provided that the employers provide them the point-to-point shuttle service or accommodation at the place nearest to the BPO office. They are also allowed to bring home the equipment if they need to, so that they can work from home. MC 20-15, this applies also to small retailers. The extension of operating hours for retail establishments authorized to operate during ECQ, particularly supermarkets and drugstores. The department issued this so that we can allow people to move without crowding, without getting crowded in a store, so that the extension of the number of hours to operate has limited the movement somehow. We have Joint Administrative Order 20-01, the adoption of processes for the expedited release of refrigerated containers and dry freezers. This is with the Department of Finance assisting the DTI, also the BOC, because we understand now that we have somehow congested the ports at the where the containers arrive. So we have adopted this to be our guide in the BOC seaports. There is also the DTI-DOF Joint Memorandum Circular number 20-02. These are the guidelines on the operations and incentives of enterprises engaged in the manufacture of essential goods. We have also, of course, in collaboration with we have the other program, as mentioned by Secretary Bello earlier on, the 2 billion peso budget for social protection programs for vulnerable workers to be used for wage subsidy and financial support to COVID-affected establishments and workers. The Department of Finance has the Small Business Wage Subsidy Program. The Social Security System has a mobilization of an existing 1.2 billion peso package to cover unemployment benefits for dislocated workers. We have the TESDA, or the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, providing scholarship programs amounting to 3 billion pesos to support affected and temporarily displaced workers through upskilling and reskilling. There are also various programs and projects of the Department of Tourism amounting to 14 billion pesos from the TIEZA to support the recovery program of the tourism industry, which we know generates a lot of jobs. And from the private sector, from the government sector, we have the 2.8 billion peso revival and recovery aid program of the Department of Agriculture through the Agricultural Credit Policy Council. We also have the Development Bank of the Philippines Rehabilitation Support Program on Severe Events, or called SEVERE, response, to provide public and private institutions in areas declared under a state of calamity, like, of course, the entire country right now, with no interest loans under a simplified application procedure. And the Land Bank of the Philippines offers a restructured loan amortization by giving longer tenor and grace periods with the option of a fixed interest rate under the Land Bank Calamity Rehabilitation Support. The BIR has extended the deadline of filing and payment of the 2019 annual income tax returns to 15 May 2020 without the imposition of penalties and other charges. The private sector programs also are included in our presentation. There is a loan moratorium for the client beneficiaries of Microfinance Council of the Philippines and the Alliance of Philippine Partners in Enterprise Developments. There is the Philippine Center for Entrepreneurship, or PCE Go Negocios Mentor Me Online. This goes live on Facebook. And then there is the easybuilder.pro, waiving subscription for MSMEs for developing a website using their platform. And recently, the president, you might have known already, the president signed an executive order institutionalizing the Balik Probinsya program. This is headed by the Department of Interior and Local Government, and several of the other departments in the executive branch are included as members of the council. We encourage people to go back to their provinces, and of course, we'll have to provide them with livelihood in their respective areas. The DTI currently is gathering information already from our different regional offices for available jobs and the industries that are looking for these jobs, and the sectors also that will be revived or revitalized in the respective regions. This will be the contribution of the Department of Trade and Industry to the Balik Probinsya program. So that's it for the department. Good afternoon to all of you. If you have any questions, please feel free to tell Usec Bobby. Maraming salamat po.
Okay, thank you very much, Usec. Salamat po. We will ask Usec Vergeire to say something.
Yes, magandang hapon po sa inyo lahat. Good afternoon. I am representing the Department of Health in this fora. We just like to give a report to everybody that currently, as of today, we have 11,350 cases of COVID confirmed positive cases, where 264 are new. Meron po tayong 2,106 recoveries, 107 po are new recoveries, and we have a total of 751 deaths. 25 are new as of today. So we also would like to inform everybody in this gathering that we have a total already of 7,865 land-based repatriates who have arrived here in the Philippines, where 7,763 have undergoing mandatory quarantine facilities. And also we have 102 who have already completed their quarantine period. Most of the repatriates are coming from Kuwait, about 15% of them, followed by Saudi Arabia, about 13.9%, and Ethiopia at 7.9%. Of these repatriates, the land-based repatriates, we have identified 6 who were confirmed to be positive with COVID-19, and they are now admitted in different facilities here in the country. For the sea-based repatriates, we have a total of 327 repatriate vessels which were processed already, and 97 are still to be processed. Of these, we have 52 vessels which have arrived already in the Philippines, with a total of 12,588 repatriates under stringent quarantine, while 275 vessels under mandatory quarantine, with a total of 16,419 repatriates. So all of these repatriates are being have been quarantined, and a total of 8,544 are currently under quarantine, while 20,463 have completed the quarantine period already. Also, we'd like to make mention that we have about 41,634 community isolation facilities in the different regions of the country. And also, we have 5 Megaligtas COVID facilities. So kung magtataka po kayo, you're wondering, we have mega facilities for our OFWs who are coming from the different parts of the world going home to the Philippines. Our protocol would include all OFWs who are coming home should undergo a 14-day quarantine period. They are being tested with RT-PCR-based tests. We already have a total of 26 licensed facilities, biomolecular laboratories undergoing or implementing RT-PCR-based tests. So ito pong ating mga OFWs, tinetest po sila lahat using RT-PCR test. Kapag po sila ay nagnegatibo sa kanilang test at wala naman po silang naitatalang mga simptomas, sila po ay pinapauwi na in their specific provinces and specific areas. They are being accosted and they are being supported by our OWWA and DOTR and other agencies of government so that they can be provided with support when they go back to their specific localities. So sa ngayon po, we have set up different facilities. We have COVID referral hospitals. We also have COVID step-down care where our citizens can be accommodated when they have COVID positive as a result of their test. We also have our telemedicine that we employ here so that our citizens do not have to go to the different primary care facilities whenever they are sick. We have COVID and non-COVID pathways whereby our patients who are having symptoms may be able to access these pathways through our barangay health workers or our barangay health emergency response teams. So we just want to assure that our individuals here in the Philippines would still can access non-COVID related services. So essential services are still being continued in spite of the pandemic. So I think that's all that I can give you as our current updates for what we do. I would just entertain questions na lang po. Thank you very much, Usec.
Okay. Any questions for Usec Vergeire because he has to leave for.
Yes, can I ask question po?
And
Can I also ask question?
Okay, Rick Advincula.
Yes, sir. Okay. Kay Usec Rosette and maybe from for Admin Cacdac din. The Bahrain government kasi has been doing their best to to flatten the curve for the COVID-19 so that yung mga OFWs natin can prefer to stay here. But most likely, marami kasi ang nawalan na ng trabaho at marami na yung mawawalan pa ng trabaho and they might decide to go home sa Pilipinas. So my request are to the DOH and maybe to OWWA, one, may the Philippine government spare them again the embarrassment. Yung parang yung nasuffer nung mga sa Batangas. They were stopped by their bosses, ganyan, for their 14-day quarantine. Pangalawa po, the government can ensure that they will not be prevented by folks in their respective villages. Yung mga babalik po dun sa mga villages nila na baka ipagtabuyan po sila yung mga ganong eksena po. And third, will the government assure some assistance for returning OFWs to start yung small scale business like what was presented by Usec Ruth? Salamat po.
Okay, I think Usec Malaya has an answer for that.
Can you repeat the question, Bobby?
It's about how the OFWs will not be embarrassed by that incident in Batangas.
Yes. Actually, we have been in very close contact with OWWA Administrator Cacdac, who's with us right now. No, it was an isolated incident what happened in Batangas. We already have a protocol wherein the local government units have to be informed prior, no? But somewhere along the way, there was no prior information given to the local government unit. So alam niyo naman, kung minsan itong mga barangays natin, mga LGUs natin, if they are not given the proper information, they sometimes panic out of fear. No, so ang maganda naman doon, our administrator was there himself, no, and met with the mayor, and then the DILG officials also interceded. So in a few hours, that issue was resolved, no. And since then, matagal na ito, no. This is more than 2 weeks ago. Yung incident sa Lian, Batangas, has not been repeated anymore, no. We now have a very smooth system because as a result, we established OFW assistance desks in all the regions of the country. So pag meron na pong abiso sa amin ng OWWA, immediately tumatakbo na po yung sistema. We advise the mayor and the barangay captains na parating yung ating mga kababayan na repatriate natin. And because of that system, we have already settled the issue.
Thank you, sir.
Ayan, si Secretary Bello is already here again. Sir.
Hello, Usec. Yung question ni yung si Rick, yung tungkol sa mga OFWs, pagka bumalik sila, Rick, aside from yung binanggit ko kanina na cash assistance, pagka bumalik na sila sa kanilang destinasyon, meron kaming ma-offer na livelihood assistance sa mga OFW. In fact, I was just having a meeting, a short meeting with the GM Jude Escalada na we are thinking of putting up a bamboo industry for our OFW dahil kailangan ito sa construction din yung mga pabahay program ng NHA. Gagamitin yung bamboo industry as a material for the housing projects that will be implemented by NHA for the balik probinsya. Para sa mga manggagawa natin na babalik sa probinsya, bibigyan sila ng trabaho. Yung mga ating mga OFW, bibigyan natin sila ng livelihood assistance.
Okay, thank you very much, Secretary Bello.
Sir?
JP Soriano?
Yes, kay Usec Vergeire. Hi, ma'am. Hello.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon si JP Soriano po sa GMA. Ma'am, may patanong lang po ang kasamahan ko sa news. Ano daw po ang solusyon ng Department of Health sa backlogs at sinasabi po na medyo may katagalan na paglabas ng test results kasi po ang pinanggalingan po nito, may mga swab specimen of critical cases ang tinatanggap daw po ng laboratories because of backlogs. Some labs process only a limited number of specimen. May mga nagko-complain daw po ng matagal na paglabas ng resulta ng test na tumatagal ng halos 1 month daw po. Ang ibang pasyente, meron daw po namamatay na hindi alam ang test results nila. So ano po ang solusyon ng Department of Health sa backlogs at matagal na paglabas ng test results? Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Salamat ha. Alam mo, sa katunayan, hindi naman namin tinatago na wala kaming backlogs. No, meron po talaga tayong backlog sa iba't ibang laboratorio natin dito po sa Pilipinas. These backlogs are born out of the operational issues that we are encountering day by day with all of these laboratories that we have. Primarily would be our logistical requirements. We all know that every country is trying to compete with these supplies for laboratories, specifically for RT-PCR-based laboratories. So, hirap na hirap kaming makasource out ng mga iba't ibang suppliers, especially for these reagents and extraction kits that we have. So, what happened with these backlogs? We started, our ITM started with the scaling down maybe a month ago because of the infection of some of their personnel. Second, nagkaroon naman after no ang lung center naman ang nag-scale down ng operations because of the influx of cases or samples that were brought to them. This was because of the expanded testing being done in our local government units. So when lung center announced that they will be closing down, they issued out the memorandum stating that while they scale down, they will just accept subgroups A and subgroups B of our patients in the protocol. And these are the severe and critical cases, and also the vulnerable population, the healthcare workers, the elderly, pregnant women, and those with pre-existing conditions. Now, while for the others, which were also assigned to their hospital, we have rezoned these areas. We talked with the Philippine Red Cross, and the Philippine Red Cross readily accepted and said that they will accept all Metro Manila hospitals, all samples coming from the Metro Manila hospitals. And then the others, we were able to mobilize the other laboratories that we have, which are non-government or non-DOH. So with that, we were able to rezone, and the assigned areas were able to be catered by these laboratories. Now, for this turnaround time, wala po kaming isang buwan, no? Although I know that katulad nga po nung sa lung center, because of these backlogs, talagang tumagal po kami hanggang 2 linggo. And right now we are trying to reduce it. So how are we trying to reduce the backlogs? So ngayon po, we have a partnership with the private sector. It is called TF3. Ito po yung pinamumunuan ni Sir Vince Dizon, kung saan big manufacturing or big firms like Ayala, Unilab, Philinvest, lahat po yan nandyan sa TF3 na yan. Araw-araw po ay nakikipagpulong tayo with them. We discuss with them our operational issues and they provide solutions. Say for example, when Lung Center had their scaling down, immediately when I had a meeting with the TF3, in 2 hours time, Unilab was able to provide them with the needed logistics to tide them over for 2 days. So ganun po yung ginagawa natin ngayon, no? This partnership with the private sector. Though we know that that is short term, so for the long term, we already have estimated or forecasted for a 3 months supply, worth of supply, and we have already submitted to PSDBM. And as early as now, though we still do not need the other requirements there or resources, they are already sourcing out so that we can stockpile. So that is foremost the strategy that we are employing, especially now because of these backlogs nga. And the primary issue really are logistical requirements.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We call on former Usec Vergeire. Mayroong question kay Secretary Bello.
Yes, for Secretary Bello. Thank you, kapatid Bobby Capco.
Hello, Toots.
Hello, kamusta po kayo?
Ito, okay pa.
Yeah, we had yung mga NGOs po had a Zoom meeting with land-based and sea-based representatives.
Yes.
Yung concern po ng mga nasa manning agencies, and I think they formally wrote you about it, baka raw hindi na nila kayanin yung sila mag-shoulder ng cost ng accommodations and ng PCR test. And I'm referring po dito sa mga manning agencies na hindi cruise ships yung clientele nila, kung hindi yung mga cargo vessels. So, pinaparating lang po sa inyo yung concern, and they're hoping na parang sa land-based, they can also be, not that they don't want to help daw, but yung cost daw po per worker ng accommodations for 14 days and PCR test, baka hindi daw po nila kayanin pag sumobra na yung bumalik ng bansa. Sir, your reaction po.
Thank you, Toots. We realize that na hindi lahat ng mga nasa sea-base ay kagaya ng Magsaysay Manning Agency, no? Na mga cruise ship yan. Kaya malaki ang kakayanan. So, in event, kung sakasakaling hindi makayanan ng mga manning agencies, ay nandyan naman po ang OWWA ready and willing to assist yung ating mga OFWs, lalo-lalo yung mga land-based.
Thank you, sir. Sir, second question po.
Okay.
Tungkol naman sa land-based, yung Saudi Arabia po issued a directive to the private sector that they can now cut the salaries of their workers by 40% as long as within 6 months ma-maintain yung mga workers, and the workers they don't even have to be advised about it, no? Pwede nang gawin ng and it's authorized by the Saudi government. But may mga contracts po yung mga workers natin processed by the POEA na nandun naka-indicate ko ano yung tamang salary nila. So, do you think, sir, na because of COVID, we now need to review kung alin yung rules ng POEA that would have to be more flexible in keeping with what the host governments are doing to protect their own workers and also to secure to help the employers po?
Thank you, Toots. No, actually, we learned about this development in Saudi, and POEA is now coming up with a new policy to address this situation. Pero whatever happens, Toots, we will see to it that our overseas workers, especially while they're there in foreign countries, they will be given all the assistance that our government can extend to them.
Thank you po, sir.
Kailangan naman bayaran natin sila, Toots, no? Taon-taon nagbibigay yan ng $30 billion. Ngayon, minsan lang naman sila nangangailangan ng tulong. Hindi dapat natin pagkaitan ng tulong yung ating mga OFWs.
Okay, thank you, Secretary. We call on Charles Tabu of the Filipino channel.
Yes po, magandang hapon po dyan sa Pilipinas. Sir, may katanungan lang po ako po direct po kay Secretary Bello. Kasi dumadami po ngayon dito yung habang nagkakaroon po ng mga no work, no pay dito, karamihan po sa ating mga kababayan ay wala na talagang makain. At ang dami nila, bulto-bulto. Minsan isang kumpanya, 100 hanggang 200 sila lahat doon. Sino po yung unang tatawagan dito? Yung kanilang agency ba o yung government natin? Kasi actually very immediate ang kanilang pangangailangan sa ngayon po.
Alam mo, kaibigan, kapag umaasa tayo sa mga agency, kawawa yung ating mga OFW. Kaya sabi ko nga, aside from yung cash assistance natin na $200 for those who are still abroad, meron tayong ready assistance in terms of food supplies and including medicine. Meron naman nakabudget para dyan.
Okay po. Maraming salamat po, Secretary.
Okay po. Okay,
thank you. Mr. Saint Tirwal. Yes. Please unmute yourself. Mr. Tirwal.
Hi, Zane, you're actually on mute.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yep. Okay.
My question is for Sir Bello. There are Filipino OFWs that are leaving Saudi Arabia. And for example, there is one here who's leaving a male, the father, with 3 children. The wife will remain in Saudi Arabia because she's under another sponsor, but the father will leave with 3 children. Now, there is a question came out or a news report that the quarantine for the OFW will be covered by the Philippine government, but the quarantine for the dependents will not. This particular parent has a concern that will he be separated from his children? How much does it cost? Where are the quarantines for both of them? Will they be kept as a family? This is one of the questions I have. The second question, which also Sir Bello maybe can help with, nobody really knows what is going to happen in the coming months, especially when schools restart. And as it is now, the schools in Saudi Arabia in particular have around 30, 35 children per classroom. If you implement social distancing, this is going to cause a real financial problem for the schools because they need more classrooms. So one of our schools here is trying to come up with a deal with a company, a Japanese company based in the Philippines called Quiba, who do online learning support. What they're thinking is that they will issue the books to the children, but at the same time, they will have this online. But the online is 500 Saudi Riyal per child per year, which is seven in this particular school, which currently has 1,800 students. That will work out around 800,000 Saudi Arabian Riyals per year, which is a huge amount. Could the Philippine government, under your leadership or your direction, could they negotiate or help negotiate with Quiba to reduce this amount so that it's not a burden on the school and the parents?
Thank you, sir. Let me go first to your first question about the quarantine of the children. That should not be a problem, sir. If the father comes in with the children, whatever expense that will be needed for the children, we will shoulder that, sir.
But the news reports that came out in the newspaper, I think it's from the Inquirer in the Philippines, and it was all over the Facebook. It says that only the OFW will be covered, not dependents.
Don't believe that, sir. That's fake news.
Good. I will pass on that information. The other question, sir, with regards to the school, could the Philippine government help in negotiating a cheaper price for this online learning?
Before I answer that, sir, I will have to talk to our labor attaché there, who is more conversant with the situation and the rules governing education in Saudi, so that as soon as we know what the situation is and what our implications are, we will get back to you, sir.
Okay, maybe I will talk with the principal and ask the principal to put it in writing.
Yes, sir. Please,
that
sir.
will make it easier, because the online tuition, which they're looking for, is to augment the students, because as of now, if you've got 35 students in a classroom and you have to do social distancing, they will need more classrooms. So maybe they will end up with half of the class coming one day, half the next day. It will be a real stress. So if they can have this online studying as well to support them, it is good. And they've come up with a company called Quibble. It's a worldwide, but based from Japan, but they have a Philippine office in Manila. But the price is very expensive.
We know that, sir. In fact, that is also the scheme that our Department of Education is considering in so far as education system will be implemented now, online. No? So, as I said, we will let our labor attaché get in touch with the authorities, especially the education authorities in Saudi, and find out how we can be of help to our countrymen there.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. From Saudi Arabia, we will move to Asia. In Singapore, we call on Orion first in Bloom.
Okay, hi everyone. What I'm about to raise is actually for everyone. It's both a question and a challenge, especially for those who are working in government and are in constant contact with legislators. So, as you all know, right now, the COVID-19 outbreak has actually pretty much kept our economies in a standstill. On the other hand, there is a bit of a silver lining. What has happened in China because of COVID-19 is there are so many companies there, usually foreign-owned companies in China, that have decided that they want to leave China. And their decision has been they're looking at ASEAN region. Unfortunately, instead of coming to the Philippines, most of them are looking at going to Vietnam or other countries like Malaysia or Thailand or any other country that has been deemed to be more friendly towards foreign direct investors. So I believe right now, this COVID-19 situation is really making it much more urgent that we lobby our government, our legislators to really do what they can to ease restrictions on foreign direct investors, so that once this is all finished, we can actually attract these job creating foreign investors to come to the Philippines instead of going to all these countries na hindi naman sila kasing galing natin mag-Ingles. Diba? Actually, these companies would have preferred to come to the Philippines. Yun nga lang, may 60-40 tayo and all these other restrictions that have made us appear less desirable as an investment location. So my question is it possible that all of us, especially those in government, in constant contact with legislators, can we lobby them harder so that, because this will come to an end, once this ends, sana naman magawa na natin yung paraan so that we can bring in more investors, so that there will be more jobs, and so that mawala na yung, there will be less need for people to become OFWs in the first place. And those OFWs who lost their jobs abroad and had to come home, they will be able to have jobs. And not just jobs sana in their own regions. So yun, kailangan to para sa balik probinsya. Thank you.
Usec or Secretary Bello? Usec Malaya?
Alam mo, yung fear na yun is not well-founded. I don't believe that among the Asian countries, they would prefer other countries than the Philippines. I still believe that we are the most attractive country in Asia. Kaya wag po tayo masyadong natatakot sa mga ganyan. We have all the potentials, we have all the attractive policies, government programs na there is no reason why these foreign countries will not come to the Philippines and invest. Kaya wag po kayong mag-alala. Ang pinaka-importante ay yung programa ng ating Pangulo na wala nang nakawan, wala nang mga kriminalidad at wala nang droga. If you have a country as peaceful and drug-free and corruption-free, the foreigners will come to our country.
Okay. Usec Vergeire needs to lead because she has a meeting.
Yes, thank you very much po, sir. Gusto ko lang ho magpasalamat sa DILG, kay Usec Malaya, I see him, and of course kay Sir Capco. Maraming salamat po sa inyo, and I'd like to thank all of you. Secretary Bello po nandiyan. Thank you. Kailangan ko pong umalis. I need to do my presser, and hopefully po next time I can stay longer to answer questions. Thank you very much po.
Thank you, Secretary. Thank you.
Salamat po, Sec. Bye-bye po.
I will miss a day na wala akong hindi ko narinig ang boses mo.
Salamat po. Mauna na po ako, Usec Malaya. Mauna na ho.
Salamat po, Usec Rosette.
Thank you.
Sige, Bobby, I'll try to address si Orion sa kanyang tanong. Orion, thank you so much for your question, and kamusta ka na dyan sa Singapore? I hope you're doing well.
Ox naman.
Yes. Congress has just resumed its session, and prior to the reopening, we had a talk with Speaker Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano, no? And one of the things that we discussed, of course, is our common passion for constitutional reform. No, because one of the stumbling blocks, we think, to the entry of foreign investment in the Philippines is the restrictive economic provisions of our constitution. No? That's why many of the foreigners, the foreign companies who come to the Philippines for investment, they have to go through shell companies or they have to work with local companies, which unfortunately does not work very well. There has been some well-documented instances na some industry was protected by our constitution and a foreign company wanted to come in. And since our constitution allows only for 60-40 foreign investment, with 40% foreign investment, but 60% was be controlled by the Filipino company, we had this situation wherein the foreign company had to utilize a local partner who had no money, just so that compliance-wise, that they would comply with the Philippine government regulations. And that has led to so many problems. No, the biggest problem, I think, if I remember correctly, is the Piatco in the airport. No, where Fraport had to go through this so many arrangements. So we are already, I think there is already a growing consensus among our members of Congress of the need to lift the economic provisions, restrictive economic provisions of the Constitution. I have also heard many senators say that publicly. So we were assured by Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano that this would be one of the priorities of the administration and of Congress. And I am confident, I am confident that this would be passed during this administration, and there will be a plebiscite before the end of the president's term. I think if this happens, this would be the greatest legacy that the president will leave to the Filipino people. So we at the DILG, you have been working with us for so long already. Know how passionate we are about this. We have to do this now. We've been trying to do this many years back, since the time of President FVR. And I think that the stars have aligned, and that we have this. If not for COVID, Congress would be discussing it now. But because of COVID, we're focused on COVID. So as soon as everything normalizes, especially when Metro Manila has been downgraded to perhaps GCQ, we will pursue again and continue our lobbying efforts towards this goal.
Thank you very much, Sec Jon. Thanks. I was going to say, yung kay Sec Bello, kasi totoo naman we really are actually, our country is actually very attractive. Yun yung first question kasi ng mga kaibigan kong foreigner. Ang ganda-ganda ng bansa nyo, ang gagaling ninyo, pero parang bakit ayaw ng konstitusyon nyo o ng mga batas nyo sa amin? Ba't ayaw nyo nung pumasok kami? Yun yung tanong nila So, sana, yun, ma-lobby talaga natin yung mga legislators that they really make this happen. Kasi we only have 2 years left.
Sec Bello, you want to reply?
Yung yung tungkol siguro, I think what my friend is referring to is yung constitutional prohibition. Hindi ka makapag-invest dito kung 100% ka, ganon. Naman hindi naman hard and fast rule yan Kaya it's a matter of getting the right people to show you how to observe these constitutional requirements. At hindi naman mahirap talaga. Just a perception na mahirap, pero actually naman mahirap to comply with our laws, especially our constitutional laws.
Yeah, I was just going to add there, kasi I think that is the problem, because it is in fact a perception issue. It is possible for companies to come to the Philippines even if they own 100%, as long as they are beyond a particular amount of money. I don't know what, $1 billion or something like that. There are certain things like that. Pero ang point natin kasi is, when we compare constitutions of countries in Asia or ASEAN region, to be exact, we do a side-by-side, Philippines versus Thailand, Philippines versus Malaysia, Philippines versus Singapore, Philippines versus Vietnam. Tayo lang, we are the only country that has explicit anti-foreign direct investment restrictions in the Constitution. These other countries, some of them have restrictions as well, but they're not in the Constitution, and they're not as blanketed na parang naglalahat. So other countries like Thailand, they will sometimes have restrictions as well, but they're not in the Constitution, and they are usually limited to certain small sectors. Whereas in our case, when they look at the Constitution, Article 12, kita nila, 60-40? Ay, wag na lang. Pero gusto nila talaga sa mga Pilipino. Gusto nilang mag-hire ng Pilipino. Pupunta sila sa Malaysia, magse-set up ng kumpanya sa Malaysia, tapos mag-hire ng Pilipino. Yan ang mangyayari.
Okay.
Totoo yan. I understand their fears, Kasi because of that constitutional requirement na hindi ka pwede 100% foreign owned, So anyway, we are moving towards that naman Kasi this constitution was, this provision was when our country was not that stable. Ibig sabihin, we could not stand on our own. Kaya natatakot tayo na we will be swallowed by these foreign investors. Pero sooner or later, it will be addressed by our economic advisors.
Bobby?
Bobby?
Yes. Gary, former Secretary of Labor.
Sec Bebot.
Yes.
Well, I'm glad you reminded us na mas matatag tayo ngayon. And the past
Yes, Gary.
presidents ago and the current president, wag na natin pag-usapan niya nasa gitna. Pero dahil po dyan, mas may kampiyansa na po tayo na to let other people more participation from abroad sa ating ekonomiya. And as I think some people know, Sec Bebot was very much a big part of that during his government service. Salamat po, Sec Bebot. Mabuhay po kayo. Sa pakikipag-usap po sa kabila, huwag niyo masyado pagbigyan sa kasera. Please. Huwag natin pagbigyan yung kasera nila. Yan.
Para kasi... Thank you, Gary. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you po.
Thank you. Tools of Play, may pahabol daw siya para kay Usec Malaya.
Yes, kay Usec Malaya and also para kay Sec Bello kasi we recently had a case na yung OFWs, domestic workers sila, and they were being housed in an accommodation sa San Mateo, Rizal. Mahigit 100 sila doon, siksikan. Yung accommodations, ang may-ari, or parang pinapaupahan ng isang licensed recruitment agency, the OFWs were supposed to be bound for the Middle East pero naabutan na rin ng ECQ. Ang concern nila, nakapadlock sila doon and then hindi sila nakakakain ng tama and yung iba nagkakasakit na. So, nung nag-complain sila, nagpunta yung LGU ng San Mateo, yung mismong mayor at yung NBI, and kahit sila na nagulat sa nadatnan nila na accommodations nitong mga OFWs na sana outbound na. So yung question ko kay Usec Jonathan, do you think it's time na may ordinance o may LGU may DILG directive na all these accommodations should be declared by the recruitment agencies sa mga LGUs para monitor din naman ng LGUs yung kalagayan ng mga aplikante at hindi patong-patong at sa karton lang nakahiga. Kasi and minsan 100 sila, isa lang ang banyo. So may mga ganun kaming na-encounter na sitwasyon. And kay Sec Bello, the same po. Do you think na dapat meron na ring inspectorial powers ang POEA para tingnan din yung accommodations, lalo na ng mga domestic workers natin na aplikante ng mga recruitment agencies?
Yes. Sec Bello, sir.
Sige, Jonathan, mas matanda ka sa akin, mauna.
Sir, kayo na po. About foreign employment po ito.
Sige, mauna ako, Jonathan. Actually, meron talagang may visitorial power ang POEA to see to it that yung mga agencies na nag-recruit will take care of their recruits. In fact, we had a meeting with them too. I was expecting na nandun ka sana dahil pinag-usapan namin.
Sir, hindi ako invited.
We were just invited kasi. Pero we were talking of about 4,000 OFWs na naabutan ng lock-in. Kaya hindi natuloy. So we are arranging for their return to the respective places of permanent residences. Pero in the meantime, we have to see to it na naka-quarter sila sa mga decent places and safe places. Diyan natatakot na nga ako kay Administrator Hans kasi if you recall, Usec Jonathan mentioned yung Lian experience. Yeah. You know, I had to call Admin Hans at 2 o'clock in the morning kasi pinahinto yung ating 10 buses full of OFWs. Ayos, biro mo, ilang buwan sila sa daan, ilang buwan sila sa quarantine. Pagdating sa ganun pang nangyari sa kanila. So, I think it's the responsibility not only of the agency but also POE and OWWA na yung kalagayan ng ating OFW should always be taken care of with utmost care. Hindi pwedeng pinababayaan yung ating mga OFWs. Kaya mabuti ito, sinabi mo yan para sa ganun ay we will look into. Nandiyan naman si Admin Nancy. I'm sure na he knows about this.
Thank you, sir. Usec Jonathan.
Yes.
Baka pwedeng tingnan nyo na lang din ano yung responsibility ng kasi parang gray area ito eh. Kasi yung business nila is recruitment but it's also related to their business kasi kailangan nila i-house sa isang lugar para hindi ma-pirate ng ibang ahensya yung na-recruit nila. But in that process, nagkakaroon din ng anggulo ng human trafficking and inhumane conditions. So I was just wondering baka pwedeng may agreement ang POEA at LGUs at recruitment agencies that the LGUs they have the right to know kung ilan yung mga workers na naka-house pala sa isang lugar within their vicinity para yung social welfare at human rights aspect na titingnan nila. Yun lang naman ang request namin, sir.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Kasi pinag-iisipan ko kung paano kami papasok, no? Kasi this is a labor issue and ang may coverage talaga as mentioned by Secretary Bello is the POEA. Kasi nga pag with relation to recruitment of Filipinos to work abroad, it's overseas employment. That's why we have a national government agency. Pero ang nakikita ko ma'am na pwedeng pasok ng DILG is through the business permit that is issued by the local government units. Kasi these entities, as you mentioned, itong mga recruitment agencies, when they operate in a certain area, they will have to apply for a business permit as well. So meron silang permit galing sa POEA for recruitment. Meron din silang permit from the local government unit. So in this process, pwedeng masilip ni LGU yung operations of a manning agency or a recruitment agency na may ganito ngang mga stranded workers na hina-house nila. Ang hindi ko lang makita is kung hindi sila rehistrado sa local government unit. Yun ang medyo gray area din para sa akin. Pero ma'am, we will be willing to work with you to find some sort of solution to this problem. No, si Bobby naman has my numbers. No, if you can give to Ma'am Susan so that we can work here in finding a solution to this problem.
Thank you po. Thank you, Usec. Thank you, Sec.
Thank you. Apo, isusunod po natin ang anak ng isang OFW. Meron po siyang
Yes, po. Yes, sir. I'm Kyle Antonio po, and I'm representing my father who is stranded in Iraq. Nasagot naman po lahat ng tanong nila regarding sa cash assistance and sa programs po sa mga marirepatriate na OFWs. So my question po is, may mga job opportunity po ba sa mga kagaya ko po na nakapending po yung employment and wala pong kasiguraduhan kung kailan po yung start because of the COVID-19. Have a pending employment with media companies and wala pong kasiguraduhan kung kailan po ako mag-start. And tuloy-tuloy po yung bayad po sa dormitory since I'm stranded din sa Manila, as well as yung financial mga expenses ko po rito sa dormitory. So, ayun po yung question ko po. May mga job opportunity po ba sa National Task Force for COVID-19 response in Bachelor of Arts in Journalism?
May tulong ba sa pamilya ng OFW na walang trabaho?
Kyle, hindi ko nakuha yung kwento mo, Kyle. Medyo garbled yung kwento kanina. Can you repeat your ano?
Yes po. Bali, kasi I'm representing my father from Iraq po, and nasagot naman po lahat ng tanong nila regarding cash assistance and job opportunity po if ever na ma-repatriate sila na pabalik sa Pilipinas. So my question naman po is para po sa akin po na nakapending po yung employment sa isang media company and wala pong assurance kung kailan po ako makakapagsimula. So meron po bang job opportunity po sa National Task Force for COVID-19 response sa mga kagaya ko po.
Kyle, you are the son of an OFW and you are looking for a job?
I am a son of an OFW po in Iraq who is currently stranded and jobless po.
Jobless ka. You come to you come to the Department of Labor. We might have a place for you there.
Hey, marami.
Hindi, ang jobless yung patay.
Kung wala sa Bule, meron sa OWWA, sigurado yan. Kaya
Nawalan ng trabaho.
Okay. Maraming salamat po, Secretary Bello. Okay. Meron pong katanungan galing kay Maria Teresa Motado ng Saudi Arabia.
Yes, sir. Good morning po po dito sa Saudi Arabia. It's such an honor po na nabigyan kami ng chance to talk with all of you po. So my question basically po, I'll put the questions all together para mamaya lahat na lang po sila. So far po, a lot of my questions have already been answered. However, there's something po especially for Secretary Bello. For one thing po, hindi lang naman po COVID cases. I am actually one of the officers for one of the Filipino community here in the central region, Dagdag po. And we have been in contact with a lot of Filipinos po dito. Actually, ang hawak po naman over Aljov, Hail, Gasim, Sakaka. So more or less po 72,000 people are around this area. Now, marami pong problem sa COVID. Sa COVID po, ang tanong ko po is ganito. We have so far right now, more or less 5,000 people who have no work and no pay. So meron po, thank God sa OWWA po and Polo, they have assisted us with the food groceries assistance, which was actually for the first batch, it was around 300 people. And the second batch from OWWA is another 300 people. However, this will not suffice to that. Ang tanong ko po, since we don't know, when you don't know when this crisis is going to be over, ano po yung long-term na plano? Kasi yung food assistance po would only suffice for how long? Maybe a week maximum. So ano po yung long-term na pwedeng assistant po natin? Meron po bang third wave or fourth wave for this one? And another thing po, yung kami po dito, may mga problema po. We have our group and we receive a lot of messages in our group and we read each one of them. So hindi lang po dahil sa COVID ang problem. We have a lot of cases po na problema sa nawawalang ama, na merong problem sa trabaho nila. And so far right now, we don't have a labor attaché here in Qasim region. So Sir Bello, it has been a while po na we've really been praying for a labor attaché here. Kasi po mas madali po, kasi I know right now, Paul and OWWA are doing the best that they could. The embassy is doing the best they could to help us out. However, dahil po sa crisis ng COVID, hindi po talaga masagot a lot of questions na kailangan namin as soon as possible. So if we had a labor attaché po, it would be really good for us to get feedback as soon as possible. So would it be possible, sir, na magkaroon na po kami ng labor attaché? It has been more than 2 years that we don't have a labor attaché in this sa Qasim area po. And last but not the least po, ito po concerns po ng families of OFWs here. Kasi po yung SAPO, yung Social Amelioration Program po. Sad to say that there are a lot of Filipino OFWs here whose family in the Philippines did not receive, hindi po kasama doon sa SAPO. And it's sad kasi ang reason is we are OFWs. Ako po, pasalamat ako na meron pang half ng salary namin ngayon, which will be reduced to 30% soon. But then, paano po, marami po kami dito no work, no pay. So even though we are OFWs, a lot of us here doesn't have any income. So kung hindi po sila kasama doon, it's really frustrating po sa family here. It's frustrating enough that we can go to them as soon as possible now because we're hoping that things will change and we'll get back to normal. But it's more frustrating that the government couldn't provide them for that just because we're OFW. So I really hope, sir, these kinds of questions will be answered today because these are the questions of a lot of Filipinos over here.
Okay, thank you, Teresa. Teresa, saan ka ba?
Dito po kami sa Qasim, sir.
Saan?
Sa Qasim. Sa Qasim po, Central Region po. Malapit po kami, under po kami ng Riyadh.
Eastern.
Central, boss.
Sa Damam. Kasama kayo sa Damam. Sa...
Hindi po.
Hindi ba?
Hindi po kami sa Riyadh area, Central po, Qasim, Hail, Aljof, Sakaka.
Ay, malayo yan, layo yan. Oh. Kasi ang problema dyan, Teresa, gusto namin maglagay. In fact, naglagay nga kami ng ng labor attaché sa Damam. Sinabihan kami ng Saudi government, oy, bakit kayo naglagay dyan? Walang consulate dyan. Sabi ganon. Kasi we have to get the approval of the host government eh. Kaya yan ang unang problema natin, hindi tayo makapaglagay ng labor attaché. Kaya nga unofficial yung ating labor attaché ngayon sa Damam, si Ray Conferido eh. O, tapos sa Riyadh,
we had a labor attaché, si Dabat Borja po, before we had a labor attaché.
si Angel Borja sa Damam, oo. Pero he was replaced by Conferido, pero unofficial yan kasi hindi pumapapayag ang ating host government, yung Saudi Arabia, dahil sabi nila, wala kayong consulate dyan, paano kayo mag-put up ng polo office? So yun, parang underground yung ating polo office dyan. We have labor attaché Ray Conferido, sa Riyadh si Mustafa Nasser, tapos sa Jeddah si Munder, and then sa Kuwait, pati sa Kuwait wala kasi ang problema natin sa Kuwait, naglagay ako, ayaw nung ambassador. ayaw niya. Kasi daw hindi raw maranaw, gusto niya raw maranaw. So, but anyway, Mustafa is holding both yung Kuwait at saka Jeddah at saka Libya. So anyway, yung problema, we look into that, pero kasi ang problema natin yung Saudi government, hindi sila pumapayag eh. Ang gusto nila kasi, meron tayong dapat consulate to be able to put up a polo. Pero alam mo kung bakit, ang exchange deal nila kasi, maglagay kayo ng consulate dyan, pero maglagay kami ng consulate sa Davao. Delikado pag nagkaroon ng Saudi consulate sa Davao, baka nandiyan lahat ng mga terorista. So yun ang problema natin dyan, Teresa. Pero anyway, nandyan naman si Conferido, unofficial as labor attaché dyan. Now, yung isang problema mo about yung Social Amelioration Fund. Alam mo, we started before by saying that the cash assistance of $200 is given to those who lost their job or who were displaced because of COVID-19. But then, sabi ko, unfair naman doon sa mga may trabaho pa rin pero hindi naman pumapasok. Dahil hindi pumapasok, no work, no pay, so dapat they should be entitled. Ayan. So in-expand natin yung coverage ng Social Amelioration Fund. Until finally I said, lahat should be entitled except that there will be priorities. Unahin natin yung nawalan ng trabaho, tapos yung mga mayroon trabaho pero hindi kumikita dahil hindi makapagtrabaho, and then lahat na until hanggat nandyan yung pera, ibibigay natin yung pera. Ang problema kasi, kinapos tayo ng pera. We were hoping na yung 150,000 na estimated OFWs to be affected by COVID-19 was enough estimate until we found out na ngayon, ang nag-apply is more than 300,000 na. Kinakapos na. But even then, sabi ko, continue accepting application pending our request for additional budget allocation. So yun ang Teresa. Hanggat kaya ng pera, we will give it to everybody. Pero kailangan may prioritization. Ayan. And then ano pa yung pangatlo, Teresa?
Yung sir, yung dito po sir, dito lang sa amin sir, meron po kayo po ang Polo at OWWA ng assistance and we're very thankful for that. They're really trying to do their best. However sir, hindi po talaga enough for a lot of Filipinos who have no work, no pay here. At yung sa AKAP naman po, there's a lot of feedback coming from here, sir. We're actually sa Qasim lang po, sir, we're not getting a lot of people who's getting the AKAP. So, ano po, sir, kasi pwedeng magtagal pa po yung crisis na to. And yung first batch, nakakuha po with, if I could just put a price on it, sir, it's around 50 riyals for each pack. And they're very thankful, really. The Filipinos are very thankful for that. However, sir, how long would it last? So ano po yung longer immediate response po ng Philippine government natin for such kung lalo po magtagal kasi paano po pag wala na yun? And we're really, sir, tinitingnan talaga namin, we're really trying to investigate who has no work, no pay. Kasi even po yung may mga food assistance from the company, hindi po silang first priority namin.
So, however, ang dami po talaga, roughly around 5,000 Filipinos here do not have work, do not have pay, and also no food assistance from their company. Ang reason ng company is you don't work, we don't have money income as well, so we can't give you anything. So ano po yung longer term? Kasi baka po magtagal pa po.
Teresa, yung mga no work, no pay, they're entitled to yung amelioration fund. They're entitled just like yung nawalan ng trabaho at saka yung kahit hindi nawalan ng trabaho pero hindi makapagtrabaho. So, same footing yan. They're both entitled to that cash assistance of $200.
Yes,
Oo.
sir. And
Pero
marami po ang nag-apply. However, sir, from the point na nag-apply sila until this point, I would say hindi tataas sa 10 ang nakaka-receive dito. So kami po as Gaficom, they think sometimes Filipinos are kind of confused of us as Filipino community, thinking that we are really responsible for them. We're not saying they're wrong. We're just saying, siguro po sir, out of frustration sa situation nila, they get it out on us. And I do feel for them. So paano sir ma-expedite po sir ang I know you said na kulang po sa fund. So I really hope so sir na mas mapabilis po ang pag-release ng fund na to because they're really in need. At ang basic need po ng tao is food, which is really reasonable kung bakit sila frustrated right now.
Yeah, Teresa, let's just hope and pray na yung request natin for additional funding of 2.5 billion will be approved at the soonest possible time. Ako naman, I see no reason why this cannot be approved kasi sinasabi ko, lahat ng mga OFW na yan, kako, every year nagpapadala ng at least 30 billion US dollars. In terms of peso, that's about 1.5 trillion. Yan ang binibigay ng mga OFWs natin. Every year yan. Ngayon lang naman sila humingi ng tulong. Huwag naman natin ipagkait sa kanila. So, I'm quite confident na yung request natin for additional funding, hindi naman nilang i-reject siguro pag bibigyan tayo para mabigyan tayo ng additional 2.5 billion para yung mga hindi pa nabigyan ng mga OFWs, lalong-lalo na yung sinasabi ninyo na no work, no pay, ay mabigyan na rin. And to a certain extent, basta OFW ka na nandiyan ka, nagtatrabaho ka, whether you are you lost your job because of COVID-19 or whatnot, ang importante, OFW ka and you have contributed to the economy of our country and you deserve all the assistance that you deserve ngayon na merong COVID-19.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, sir, for answering the question. Shout out lang po sa Polo and OWWA ng Riyadh. Malaki po ang, hindi po sila nagbibingihan sa pangangailangan ng mga Pilipino. I know, and also po sa Gaficom, we are here po, sir, to support the Philippine Embassy here in Saudi Arabia. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Secretary Bello.
Sundan ko lang yung yung sinabi ni Secretary Bello for Teresa. Is Teresa still here? Yes. Yun kasing regular social amelioration program naman ng DSWD, pag ang pamilya ay distressed, na may distressed OFW, ay qualified po yan sa social amelioration program. No, iba naman yung sa DOLE, no, yung sinabi ni Secretary Bello na $200 na kinapos ng pondo dahil sa sobrang dami nag-apply. Meron din tayo na binibigay sa mga pamilya na tinatawag na low-income families. No? Yun nga lang kung minsan kasi nagkakaproblema sa implementasyon dahil karamihan doon sa mga OFW families, yan yung mga nakakaangat sa komunidad. So hindi talaga sila yung automatic na binibigyan ng SAC form dahil nga mas nakakaangat, dahil nga may OFW, hindi nasa radar ng barangay. Ngunit sinabihan na namin yung barangay na yung mga pamilya ng mga OFWs dito sa Pilipinas na yung kanilang miyembro ng pamilya ay distressed, meaning no work, no pay din sa abroad, ay kailangan kwalipikado sa social amelioration program. Now, it took us some time to get this off the ground and natapos na yung first tranche. Kanina, inanunsyo ni spokesman Harry Roque sa Sambayanan na inaprubahan ni Pangulong Duterte yung additional 5 million families na mabibiyayaan under the social amelioration program. At kausap na po ng DILG ang DSWD para maisama na natin yung mga pamilya ng mga OFWs. So dito po natin ipapasok yung mga pamilya ng mga OFWs na yung OFW nila ay no work, no pay din. Kasi sa panahon ng ganito, we believe na itong mga ito should be qualified. So yun, sa second tranche po, most probably mapapasama itong mga pamilyang ito. Tinatapos na po namin yung guidelines with the DSWD. And kami po sa DILG, we are pushing for the inclusion of more OFW families in the social amelioration program of the DSWD.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Maraming salamat po. Secretary Bello, correspondent ng ABS-CBN sa Middle East, Jeddah.
Ayan, magandang araw po sa ating lahat. I'm Sherwin Suniga po. Dito po si Jeddah, ang PFC correspondent. Tanong ko lang po sana kung hindi pa rin na ito nasagot or nasagot na rin po. Kasi po, recently po na-open na rin ang Saudi Arabia na nagpapauwi ng ating mga OFW po. Pauwi dyan sa atin sa Pilipinas. And may mga family, nabanggit din po kasi ni spokesperson na Secretary Roque na yung mga hindi po OFW ay sila daw po yung magbabayad ng expenses sa quarantine, no? And then mga expenses sa quarantine, how much po ba ito per day? Kasi po yung tinatanong din ng ating mga kababayan dito, especially yung may mga family na mga OFW na uuwi, yung po bang mga family nila, yung mga dependents nila are qualified na malibre or babayaran nila yung quarantine expenses? How are we going to categorize those mga family ng ating mga OFW?
Hello, Sherwin. Sa akin ka ba nagtatanong tungkol sa quarantine expense? Sherwin?
Yes po, sir.
Opo.
Sino po yung pwede nating mapasagot doon, sir?
Clear naman yun, Sherwin, na yung mga OFW natin, yung expenses for quarantine, sagot yan ng OWWA. Although, dapat yung mga agencies, pero alam mo naman, kung iaasa mo pa sa agencies, aabutin tayo ng siyam-siyam. Kaya pwede nang i-assume na ng OWWA yan.
Pero yung pong mga families nila, are they included doon, sir?
Yung mga
OFWs?
Yung mga families nila?
Dependents po.
Yung dumating nga member ng family nila, yung dumating from abroad, kasama na yan, isama nila. Hindi mo naman pwedeng pabayaan yung pamilya.
Okay po. Maraming salamat. Yun lang po yung tinatanong natin kasi marami pong ibang mga, especially dito sa Jeddah, they are, meron na mga pauwi talaga na magpo-for good because nawala ng trabaho and then sa Pilipinas na and kasama nila yung family nila. So they are just asking about it. Kasi nga recently yung sinabi ni Spokes Roque ay yung mga hindi OFWs are going to pay for the quarantine expenses. Maraming salamat po, sir.
Don't worry, Sherwin, kasi alam mo, kausap ni Administrator Malaya yung mga insurance companies. Alam mo naman yung mga insurance companies niya, milyon-milyon ang kinikita nila sa mga OFW natin. Ngayon, kinausap ni Admin Bernard ng POEA yung mga insurance companies na, panahon naman na magbayad kayo, tumulong kayo. And they agreed. So, yung mga issues like who will pay for their quarantine expense, sasagutin po yan ng OWWA o POEA. Pero, siyempre, sasagutin din yan ng mga insurance companies. And they agreed to do that.
Okay po.
Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much po. Maraming salamat.
Rudy Estimo. Rudy, are you still there? Okay.
Wala akong tanong, pero yung situational sa Middle East, meron ako, di ba?
Yeah.
Okay, good afternoon to our government officials who are also frontliners in the fight against COVID-19. and fellow participants in this meeting. Needless to say that this meeting is very important indeed. We Filipinos in the Philippines are suffering from difficulties due to the novel coronavirus crisis. Overseas Filipino workers or OFWs in various countries, as well as Filipinos who have migrated to other countries, are likewise suffering. OFWs in various countries in the Middle East, like Bahrain and Kuwait, and Filipino migrants are facing difficulties. They are suffering from food shortage. In this regard, the Department of Labor has allotted $200 cash for its OFW as assistance, financial assistance. In Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the Philippine Embassy staff have contributed out of their personal money for the OFWs, and the police staff have given food out of their personal finances also. But this is not enough. As a result, the Filipino community groups, like the groups of Mr. Noni Sagadal here, have raised funds for needy compatriots. Individual OFWs have also helped on their own, using their own money. The OFWs have also complained about the 40% cut in their salaries, as well as the 5 to 15% new VAT, value-added tax, to be enforced in July. There are about 900,000 Filipinos in Saudi Arabia. Most of them are concentrated in the Saudi capital of Riyadh. In the United Arab Emirates, OFWs have also complained about the 40%, have also complained about food shortage. In Dubai, the PULO gave food packs and rice to OFWs. There are about 679,819 OFWs in the United Arab Emirates. In Australia, OFWs are suffering, or likewise suffering, in view of the COVID-19 crisis. Filipinos going there for a better life could not find jobs. Their skills are not suited for jobs available in the labor market, which are technical or vocational in nature. Others have difficulty adjusting to their new environment. I think Ms. Mamena Edmonston has a good suggestion on this. If she could if she could talk later on about this, she could give a possible suggestion to the government. Filipinos in other countries like Europe, United States, and Canada are also affected by the COVID-19 in other ways. For instance, Filipinos in Canada and who have taken a vacation in the Philippines have been stuck here. They could not leave to go back because of the suspension of commercial flights. There are about 851,410 Filipinos in the North American country, many of whom have become permanent residents. That's all, Doc.
Okay, Bobby, at siguro mga last questions na lang tayo because sa Secretary Bello, we have taken too much of his precious time already, sir.
Hi, sir.
So, Bobby, can we have one last question from our participants so that we can let Bobby go? Secretary Bello. Bobby, there's someone who's
from Riyadh, sir, Mr. Noni Sagadal.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Bobby Capco, sir. Yeah. Yes,
Mr.
go
Bobby,
ahead.
Can I... Sir, Bobby, sir, magandang araw po sa inyong lahat, mga kasamahan natin diyan sa Pilipinas, sa mga ating mga government officials. Actually po, ako po, si Noni Sagadal, I am connected with in Saudi Arabia. I am the current area commander of NEDSA Rizal. We receive a lot of calls from our kababayans who suffered this no work, no pay, and some of them already applied for this AKAP of Dole, but unfortunately, they were rejected. So, since our group, the Knights of Rizal, is concerned of the we are also concerned of helping the district OFWs. We find a way to raise funds from our own pockets, from our officers and members of the Knights of Rizal in Riyadh and in Eastern Province. I have here Sergeant Terwal, our regional commander of Knights of Rizal in the Middle East and Africa. They did something just to help. But this is not enough, like the question of Sister Teresa and Charles Tabo of Jeddah, that our polo offices cannot respond sa lahat po ng mga hinaing ng ating kababayan. So, at the moment, we have a continuous food assistance distribution sa ating mga kababayan. Doon lang sa mga nakakarating sa amin na nagreklamo po. But my question is, can we ask immediate, Sir Bello and Sir Hans Cacdac, can we ask immediate assistance from Polo to respond this calling of our kababayan dahil hindi talaga kaya lahat na matugunan ang ating mga kababayan. Kaya po kami gumawa ng paraan sa Knights of Rizal. We are soliciting funds from our friends, from some companies who might be able to help us. But how long this crisis will end? So, ang ating question ko po sana na
Hello. Naputol si Noni.
Makaka-respond ba agad ang Polo? Makakaano po kaya ang Polo immediately by your help, Sir Bello and Sir Hans Cacdac? Yun lang po, Sir. Maraming salamat.
Okay. Thank you, Noni. Thank you. Alam mo, just for the record, ang binigay sa aming pera is 1.5 billion. 1.5 billion. That was supposed to be given to yung 150,000 na mga OFWs. 150,000. Alam mo ba kung ilan ang naka-apply? 399,000. Over and above 150,000. Pero, ang maganda rito, ang na-approve namin, o na-approve ng ating labor attaché ay 134,000. In other words, na lang, 16,000 na lang ang hindi na-approve ang kanilang application for the cash assistance. And so far we have already given 1,047 billion. Yun ang naibigay na natin. Kaya konti na lang naiiwan. Kaya kung meron mang hindi nabibigyan, baka sa dahil hindi qualified. Kasi nakalagay dito, merong na-disapprove na ilan bang denied? 26,000 na denied. Ibig sabihin nito, nag-apply do sa Riyadh, nag-apply din dito sa Pilipinas, o kaya may trabaho, nagtatrabaho pa, nagsusweldo pa, so hindi entitled doon sa cash assistance. So, Noni, don't worry. We will try our very best to give everybody what is due to them under yun sa AKAP program. Basta ikaw ay isang OFW na nawalan ng trabaho dahil sa COVID-19 o kaya kahit hindi ka nawalan ng trabaho pero hindi ka makapagtrabaho dahil na quarantine ka, hindi ka makalabas ng bahay, you are also entitled to the $200 cash assistance. Kaya yun po ang Ngayon, sabi ko nga, ang nag-apply 399,000. Ang pera lang is good for 150,000. Kaya humingi kami ng dagdag na pundo para mabigyan pa rin natin lahat ng mga kababayan natin na naapektuhan ng COVID-19. Hopefully mabibigay yan. Pero kung hindi mabigay, we will have to be very frank to everybody na hanggang dito lang ang kaya natin. So magdasal po tayo na i-approve yung ating request for additional 2.5 billion para sa ating mga kababayan, mga tanging mga bagong bayani na sinasabi natin, pero hindi naman natin yung binibigyan ng what is due them. So hopefully mabibigay yun, Noni, and we assure you that we will give it to them at the soonest possible time. Noong araw, ang hinihinging requirement notice of termination. Sabi ko, gago ba kayo? Sino naman ang employer na mag-issue ng notice of termination? Sabihin nyo na lang na gumawa ng undertaking yung OFW na he has been terminated. Tapos na. Pwede na yun. So yun, na-liberalize yung mga requirements. So, Tony, we'd like to assure you na as much as possible, gusto namin maparating yung cash assistance sa ating mga OFWs. Thank you.
Okay, maraming salamat po sa lahat ng dumalo ngayong hapon na ito sa ating pagpupulong, lalo na po kay Secretary Bello sa pong bayani ito, napakasipag. At kay Usec Cacdac po, Usec Malaya, maraming salamat din po. Salamat po, Secretary.
Thank you, Bobby. Thank you. Thank you,
Yes,
Gary.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you po sa inyo.
Thank you, sir. Thank you po.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, admin.
Thank you po.
Okay ka pa?
Thank you, sir. Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mga malakas siya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you po, Secretary.
Thank you po. Thank you, Sir Bobby. Thank you, Usec Jon. Usec Ruth.
Usec Bello, thank you very much po.
Thank you.
Invite sa live report.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you.
Ang hirap ng... Okay, thank you, Noni.
Thank you,
Sir
Sir Roberto.
Yes, I will ask Cielo Villaluna. Is the